Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channels, that being the Captain Lou Extravaganza or the Captain Lou Sports Network, and, of course, 12 Ounce Sports, our YouTube channels there. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms, including Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and 12 Ounce Sports, our Facebook pages there, uh, on X at the Real Captain Lou, and of course 12 Ounce Sports, Instagram, Twitch, you name it. We are all over the social media landscape, and it's great to be with you here on this Wednesday. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody! A special Valentine's shout out to my beautiful bride Andrea, and of course my son Matt, who's working hard up at Grand Valley State here in Michigan in Grand Rapids. Special Valentine's to them for putting up with my nonsense every week. But great to be with you here on this Wednesday, as I mentioned, Valentine's Day. We're going to start out with some great celebration, talking about the Super Bowl and everything. We just want to kind of start out a little bit somber. Our thoughts and prayers are out to everybody in Kansas City with the senseless shooting that went on after the Super Bowl parade celebration. It just kind of hits you right between the guts. It makes you wonder when this shit's going to stop. Unfortunately, one person dead, 22 people injured. Just amazing. What it just what's wrong out there. It comes pretty much on the anniversary, or the 1 year anniversary of what happened at Michigan State last year, where the senseless act of three students losing their lives there. It just, our thoughts and prayers are out to the wounded, the families, the family of the deceased person, and the quick action of the police at Kansas City should be commended. And the fans that tackled the shooter, if you saw that video as well, that was so. Again, our thoughts and prayers are out to everyone in Kansas City. Hope those that are injured can pull through rather quickly. And let's again think of the good thoughts. I don't know what the solution is to all this gun violence, this senseless violence, and I'm not really going to get on my political soapbox. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on this. It's got to stop. There's got to be a way. Thoughts and prayers are great, but we got to kind of figure out somehow how to get a solution to end all of this madness. And it's unfortunate that when you have a gathering to celebrate something cool, like something that's only happened, I think, 6 or 7 times before this, and back-to-back Super Bowl champs, that being the Kansas City Chiefs, what should have been a great celebration, which it was until then. But anyways, our thoughts and prayers are out to those folks as well. All right, we are sponsored by tickets.12ouncesports.com. If there is a game that you want to go to, sporting event, concert, whatever, go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. We've got some great deals for you right there. We are your ticket broker for your next event, for any sporting event that you may want to go to. Todd Corder is going to join us approximately 15 after, maybe 20 after. We're going to talk with him about his thoughts, friend of the show, frequent guest on the show. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, what happened with Kansas City and San Francisco, what's up next for them. Can Kansas City three-peat? What's next for San Francisco? And some of the other challengers like the Ravens and our Detroit Lions, who came oh so close to getting their first Super Bowl bid. A lot to talk about there. And we're also, with him being in the host of ATL Prime Sports, we're going to talk to him about the new regime that's going to be coming to Atlanta, Hot Atlanta, with the Atlanta Falcons now, with Raheem Morris as their head coach, and what's going to happen maybe with a little bit, with a quarterback scene there. So they got some talent there. And fortunately for Atlanta, they're in kind of a crappy division. So, they can, we'll see. But that's what we're going to talk about. We'll touch on the Red Wings a little bit as well, since we're wrapping up football for now. It's always football season now, with the off season, with the combine already in 2 weeks, free agency starting up with the calendar year for NFL football in March. And then, of course, trades, whatever, and the draft in April. So it's always football season. But we'll gear a little more towards hockey. And, of course, March Madness coming up in 4 weeks, I believe, is the opening weekend for March Madness already. I know here in Michigan, the boys basketball season, I think, is done either this week or next week already. It's flown by this whole season. It always flies by. Maybe because we get a little bit older, it flies by a little bit quicker. But so we got a lot to talk about there. The Red Wings, as I mentioned, trying to hold on to a playoff spot. I know it's early to talk playoffs, a couple of months out yet, but they're right there. They're in the thick of it, which we haven't been able to say for a long time. Their West Coast trip started out a little rough last night, giving up 5 goals in the third period, losing 8-4. We'll see if they can bounce back tomorrow night against Vancouver. So, a lot to talk about here. Again, welcome to the show. As always, we are excited to have you on. Great to be back here on 12 Ounce Sports. So, let's get right into it. Let's start talking some football here. All hail to the Chiefs. Big win for them in overtime. An exciting game. The first half was kind of boring, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know if it's boring. If you like defense, it was your cup of tea. A bunch of punts, a few miscues. Kansas City's defense, it's again, they showed how good they are. And, I mean, San Francisco really didn't have a whole lot of answers for them. But again, it came down to a muff punt, missed extra point, or we might be talking about San Francisco and Brock Purdy is the hero. But you got to give credit to Kansas City's defense. I think they've been under the radar throughout most of the regular season, and all of a sudden now, they're definitely one of the best. The run that they had in the playoffs was incredible, and you gotta give it to them. And it's you gotta say it. The Chiefs are now a dynasty. There's no doubt about it. Three Super Bowls. They've been in the Super Bowl, the last 4 years. Patrick Mahomes, he's, to me, asserted himself as one of the top quarterbacks of all time. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. The guy is 28 years old. Everybody's calling him the GOAT in waiting. I know he still has a decade or so to catch up maybe to Tom Brady. But Tom Brady won 2 Super Bowls. He won his 3 Super Bowls. Then he went 10 years without winning another one. Now, I know they went to a couple other Super Bowls and lost to the Giants in that decade in between. But now here's the waiting game. Kansas City, can they get back to the Super Bowl to make it a three-peat next year? That's going to be the question on everybody's mind. And, the run that they made this year, starting out, at home with the opening game against Miami in frigid temperatures. Then they went to Buffalo. Then they went to Baltimore, and they asserted themselves. And, you can say what you want. I go back. I like Patrick Mahomes. All he does is win. He wins with his legs. The pinpoint passing. He had a couple of mishaps in that game against San Francisco, uncharacteristic throws, but for the most part, he looked pretty good. And he's right there. He's got 3 Super Bowl wins. He's tied now with the likes of Joe Montana and Troy Aikman, one behind, obviously, Terry Bradshaw. And, of course, he's got a ways to go to catch Tom Brady. But in the first decade, he's 28 years old. The kind of numbers, the wins that he's put up, the winning mentality. I don't have a hard time cheering for Kansas City. The one player that I'm kind of getting tired of is Travis Kelce. And again, I preface this, I don't care about him and Taylor Swift. If they want to ride off into the sunset, get married, whatever. That's, I guess the Travis Kelce arrogance kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, but I'm old school. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, but when you're good, you can, as long as you back it up, that's the mentality now, I guess. You can be arrogant, you can be cocky, as long as you back it up, it's accepted. So, but that, other than that, I mean, how do you not like Andy Reid? I mean, here's a guy that paid his dues, obviously, back with Philadelphia, making all those conference championship games and then making it to the Super Bowl, only to lose to New England. He got a second lease on life in the coaching world, I guess you could say, with Kansas City. And yes, he was able to get Patrick Mahomes. But you know what? You still got to win the games. And he's adapted. And I like their game plan. He's not going anywhere. I mean, you could tell. You watch the celebration on Sunday when he's tackling Chris Jones, after the game, and he just looks like a common guy, just a regular guy, just like you and I. That's what I love about Kansas City right there. I really do like Andy Reid, and I hope for him that he stays on. Maybe he can catch Bill Belichick. Who knows? That would be amazing. I'm rooting for the guy. I've always liked him, and he's just a regular guy like you and I. At least that's how he comes across. And I don't see any quit in him anytime soon. So I mean, that's it's. Is there a future for? Is there a three-peat in their future? Well, right now, believe it or not, they don't have the best odds to win the Super Bowl next year. I was kind of, I was looking at it the other day, and I'm looking at it again today. There's the Super Bowl odds for next year. You've got Kansas City second behind San Francisco. San Francisco's plus 500. Kansas City's plus 700. Then you got Baltimore plus 800. Buffalo plus 1,000. And then our Detroit Lions plus 1,200. When was the last time you could ever remember? In my lifetime, it's never happened. Maybe in 1992, I don't know, where Detroit was in the top 5 for the best odds to win a Super Bowl. That gets me fired up just looking at that, looking at what Detroit accomplished. But it's kind of funny to me that Kansas City is already a quote-unquote underdog to San Francisco. I don't know. I come from the Ric Flair mentality where in order to be the team, you got to beat the team. Until somebody knocks them off, they're going to be the team. And, when they play in games, more often than not, I'm going to bet on them. And, I just, it flabbergasts me how they just, they're the runner-up pick for the Super Bowl next year. I would be shocked if Chris Jones isn't in Kansas City next year. They got a year, they did it with a wide receiver core that's not the greatest. They're not household names. I mean, Rashee Rice, MVS with the clutch catches. Hardman gets one, but he wasn't there all year. So it's crazy. I just don't understand it. So I don't know. What do I know? I mean, it's insane that they're already, they're underdogs. So who knows? What can I say? But it's going to be fun to watch that anyway. So again, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. All hail the Chiefs. They, again. And speaking of bets, for those of you that were able to ride with me on my prop bets that I had on my extravagant few moments, and last Sunday throughout the playoffs, 10-3. Last Sunday for the Super Bowl, we got 2 out of 3. We didn't get the 2-point conversion, although if San Francisco would have scored a touchdown in overtime, the mentality was Kansas City was going to go down and go for 2. We would have been 3 for 3. But we got to love Jennings for throwing that touchdown pass, because our one prop bet was over 2.5 people to throw a pass. We connected on that. And of course, the prop bet to me, that was a no-brainer, was the over-under on Chris Jones tackles and assists was 2.5. My goodness, he got that in the second quarter. So that was easy money there. So if you rode with the captain on the playoffs, congratulations. You went to the winner's circle. 10-3 on our prop bets in the playoffs. Can't wait till football season into fall. We're really going to gear towards that. You and I are going to make some serious coin this year with our prop bets. I guarantee it. It was funny as I ran a little note on Jeff Beck's show on Thursday night, the Gamble Guy. And he was fascinated by that, and he took it. So congratulations to them. I know that when I win, you win. And so just make sure you stay tuned to the Captain Lou Extravaganza this fall when we give you our prop bets extraordinaire. And they'll be on our extravagant few minutes, little snippets throughout the year on 12 Ounce Sports, and of course on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at San Francisco and why we thought maybe they should have been a little better in the Super Bowl. But we're still going to give Kansas City 98% of the credit. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We're live here on 12ouncesports.com and, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. As we roll along here, let's welcome in our special guest here for the show tonight. Friend of the show, always gracious with his time. That, of course, being Todd Corder. Todd, thanks for joining us. How are you tonight, my friend?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
You know, it couldn't be better. We're talking sports on a Wednesday night. And, you know, as I said at the top, technically football season might be over, Todd, but the NFL season now is 12 months long. There's always something going on with the combine in less than 2 weeks. And, you know, the free agent market will start in March. I mean, there's always something going on in the NFL.
Well, no question about it. It's that way for all the sports, actually, include the NHL and NBA and Major League Baseball. They're all 12-month year sports, and that even includes college football and college basketball. I mean, it's 24/7, 365.
Yeah, with the advent of NIL and transfer portal and all that, we could talk about that on a different program. You and I could we could pontificate until the cows come home about how that's changed the game. But I want to talk to you about the Super Bowl. We talked about Kansas City before the break, and before I get to your thoughts about them, I can't, you know, I'm going to blame Kyle Shanahan a little bit about the loss. I got to give most of the credit to Kansas City, but my question to you is, why did they quit feeding the horse? Why do you think they took McCaffrey out of the game plan, especially after that interception when it looked like they had Kansas City by the jugular?
Well, that's a question that you'd have to ask Shanahan,
Yeah.
But I think the 49ers definitely wanted balance in the offense, and they had good balance. They really did, especially in the first half. But the key to me was when Kansas City went from zone to man straight up and put their top corners right on them. That, to me, changed the complexion of the game greatly, and they weren't able to throw the ball. They weren't quite as successful. And then, of course, once they get you down to being one-dimensional, it's tougher to run.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You know, and that ties into what we talked about, too, in the first segment, is Kansas City's defense. You know, they were underrated, under the radar, you know, even going into the playoffs, Todd. And then, you know, they showed their true colors in that Baltimore game, really how good they were. And again, like you mentioned, they showed how good they were in the Super Bowl.
Well, it was the best defense in the NFL, no question about it, in the playoffs. They were stingy to run on, and then when you have the best quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes, it's really tough to beat him. I mean, I can give an example. You know, Trent McDuffie, you know, his stats in the playoffs were incredible. You know, stats this season, including the playoffs, he had in 20 games, he had 92 tackles, 14 passes defended, 5 forced fumbles, a recovery, 3 sacks, and 5 tackles for a loss. That's that's the play that they received from their secondary. When you have all pro corners that can lock down man on the team's best receivers, it allows your front seven to get after the quarterback, and that's what they did.
And, you know, again, now we can call Kansas City, I think, a dynasty. I think it's fair to say three Super Bowls in 4 years. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. I think he just comes across as a regular guy like you and me, Todd. And I really like Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's quite in the rarefied air of Tom Brady, but, you know, the guy's only 28 years old. It's absolutely incredible what he's been able to accomplish in such a short period of time.
Well, no question. He's 28 years old, 3 Super Bowls, 6 AFC championship games straight. He's lost 3 playoff games. One was in the Super Bowl to Brady. The other one was the AFC championship game to Brady when he was with New England. And obviously one game to Joe Burrow. I mean, as Herm Edwards would say, don't press in and don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. That's my saying, the second half of it.
Boy, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like I said before the break. You know, I'm not gonna bet against them next year. I mean, what mystifies me, Todd, is we were talking about the Super Bowl odds for next year, and Kansas City is the second favorite behind San Francisco. And I come from the Ric Flair mentality. To be the team, you got to beat the team. And right now, they're at the top of the mountain. They're my Super Bowl pick until somebody knocks them off.
Well, there's no question. You know, the unsung hero to me is defensive coordinator Spags.
Yeah.
You know, they signed him to a contract extension today, and he's got 3 Super Bowls with Kansas City, and that masterpiece he did years ago with the New York Giants, defeating the Patriots. It was the only loss of the season in the Super Bowl. What a fantastic coach. I don't know if he's privately had any conversations with any other teams. I know he was a head coach before.
Yeah.
I know his record. You know, he struggled at St. Louis, but they didn't have the horses in the barn.
No.
He had an intern shot. But I'm wondering if he'll get another chance or if he's even interested in being a head coach because he's been so highly successful in this role with 4 rings.
You know, that's a great point, Todd. You know, I know the ultimate goal, I think, of most coaches is to be a head coach. But, you know, you look at this, like you mentioned, the success he's had, and you really want to go to a franchise. There's a reason why there's openings in some of these franchises because their organization is horrible or they just had such a record of just losing. They've got no talent on the team. And you're kind of walking into a no-win situation. To me, I would, you know, they gave, like you said, they gave him a contract extension. He's got it great there right now. I mean, they're going to be at the top of the mountain for, you know, quite a few years.
Now, you know, when you looked at it, Kansas City faced 4 of the top 6 offenses in the playoffs, you know, which averaged, over 28 a game this season. And Spags and the Kansas City D held them to 12.5 a game. To me, defense wins championships and won the national championship at Michigan. They had the best defense in college football.
Yeah.
Georgia the year before with their defense. Defense wins championships. And then when you put the best quarterback in the game and give him the ball only down 3 in overtime since he elected to take the ball, and that's probably another conversation for San Francisco. That, you know, I definitely would have played defense and seen what Kansas City was going to get, but instead you didn't get the 7, you got 3, and you opened the door for a guy that's on the same mountain as Jeter, Gretzky, Jordan, and Brady. He's heading in that mountain.
Sure is.
And he scored in cha-ching for all the bettors out there who took Kansas City, and I'm one of them included. I got to go collect.
Yeah, there you go. I unfortunately, one of my bets was taking the over at over 47.5. But hey, like I said earlier, my prop bets that I have on my show, it was a very successful season, so I can't complain. I told everybody to take the over on the amount of people throwing a pass was 2.5. Thank God for Jennings. And what the biggest no-brainer to me, Todd, was the over-under on Chris Jones for tackles plus assists was 2.5. My goodness, I think he had that with 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. So yeah, I mean, some of these prop bets were no-brainers this past weekend.
You know, there's one thing they'll have to address in the offseason, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some big-time free agents. They've got 8 of them, and you know, 7 of them are on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is probably going to have to spur some money to set to make gigantic money this year. I'm sure he's going to have to defer money like Brady did to keep that championship train rolling. And there's a lot of great contenders in the AFC and NFC for next season.
Well, you talk about Steve Spagnuolo, Todd. You look on the other side of the ball, and today San Francisco fired Steve Wilkes as their defensive coordinator. I was quite surprised by that. Their defense is not that bad. I mean, I know they struggled a little bit against Detroit, against the run in Green Bay, but they're top 10 defense. And I was a little surprised by that today.
Well, it seemed like to me a philosophical differences. You know, he wanted to go to cover 0, and Shanahan did not.
Okay.
So if you're having philosophical defenses, opinions with your defensive coordinator, you're not all in sync. And neither was Bosa with his D coordinator, even though the back end was tremendous for San Francisco. They had problems in the front 7 this year, and the Lions and Packers really exposed it running the football on them. Now, I don't think that's the coordinator's fault, but if you have philosophy differences with your D coordinator, the head coach always wins.
Oh, 100%. So it's going to, one of the questions I was going to ask you, if you're San Francisco, do you change anything? Well, they already have. When,
They already have.
Yeah, no, I was typing this up at 4:30 this afternoon, and then I was like, boom, they let them go. So now it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I can understand why some of the bettors would put San Francisco up on top. They're loaded with talent. I don't think their window is closed by any stretch. I mean, they're going to go, the only thing that's, in my opinion, is going to stop them right now is injury. And, you got the horses on offense, McCaffrey, Samuel, Ayuk, Purdy. I thought Purdy played pretty good. He
played great.
Yeah,
I thought he was magnificent.
Yes.
He wasn't quite as effective when Kansas City made the adjustment from zone to man, but who would be when they're barreling down on you and you got to get rid of it? He made some throws. They were right in his face when he was releasing it, and they knocked down some throws led by Chris Jones and company. That's a tough defense. Kansas City has really drafted well. Veach has hit on everything since the 28 draft. He's hit on 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 8, about 19 players. You're hitting on the draft in 19 players. That's as good as there is in the NFL.
Right.
Up there with Detroit. Detroit's hit on their draft.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the off season. We're joined by Todd Corder. He's the host of ATL Prime Sports. You can see them on Twitter, YouTube. Check them out at Corder Todd is his handle on Twitter, or X at ATL Prime Sports. All right, Todd. Now we talked about Kansas City and San Francisco. Now, what about the challengers? Obviously, we've got the two main ones, Baltimore and a main challenger being the Detroit Lions. When was the last time we could say that Detroit is one of the top challengers to get to the Super Bowl? But
30 years ago.
Exactly. 92, man. I tell you what, Detroit's got some cap room. Their whole coaching staff for the most part's coming back. They ended up losing today one of their senior player personnel people to Washington. He's been with Detroit, for 20 some years. But what do you see Detroit trying to do in the offseason? What's their biggest thing do you think they're going to address?
Defense, because the offense is there. They pick up a receiver offensively or an offensive lineman. But to me, the secondary, and Kool-Aid McKinstry of Alabama, that's the guy that I'm looking for them to potentially get in the back end. And then I look for them in round 2 to maybe even draft another corner, or they're going to go defensive line and try to get some more sacks from that defensive line. But they need help in the secondary, and they need help on the defensive line. They get the help there. And I tell you what, the way Goff played this year, that offensive line, J-Mo coming in and starting to really on his own at wide receiver. The running back core is as good. The tight end is as good as anybody in the NFL. This team's a contender, and you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, if they draft well, they'll be in the Super Bowl next year, and they may even hoist the trophy.
So as far as Jared Goff goes, Todd, if you're Brad Holmes and you're looking at trying to extend him, what would you go? I mean, obviously they would like to get him for only 3 years, but would you give him more than a 3-year deal?
Yes. I would go as high as 4 or 5. Yep,
okay.
No question about it. That shows you're serious, and you're serious about winning. Yes, no question about it. His game is getting better as he gets older. He was tremendous this year. I mean, he was spot on. This Lions team, everybody's criticizing Campbell for the decisions, but those were decisions they made all year long. And if the Lions players, most notably the wide receivers, had not dropped the ball on fourth down, they would have been in that Super Bowl. And by the way, both teams struggled in the first half. Detroit could have taken each one of them.
And it's funny. It's a question that I brought up on social media Sunday night. Kyle Shanahan goes for it on fourth down. They make it. He's a hero.
Right.
Dan Campbell goes for it and misses it. He's a buffoon. That is the hypocrisy of the national media. And, I don't care if it was, going to the Super Bowl as opposed to week 6. That's the mentality that has brought Detroit this far, and
sure has.
I had zero problem with them going for it. I've been yelled at, I've been laughed at, but I don't care, man.
I don't have any problem with it neither. I might have kicked it one of those circumstances, Lou. But I tell you what, they won that game in Dallas. I don't give a rat's bit when anybody says.
Yeah.
The video shows that the skipper was eligible, and more than one offensive lineman went over there and said it. It was obvious.
Yeah.
They won that game in Dallas, and they still went for it on 7 yards to go for a 2-pointer and still got it. That just tells me the moxie of this football team.
I love it.
And the players love Dan Campbell. He was offered the Texas A&M job during the season.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And so on the other challengers, you look at the other team that was in the championship picture, that being the Ravens. Yep. Todd, I wanted to believe that Lamar could take the next step. He's got a man by the name of Patrick Mahomes in his way, obviously. But I don't know if it was an offensive scheme problem there in Baltimore, if he just tried to do too much and took too much upon himself. But my, oh my, I don't know. Is Lamar Jackson going to be one of those guys that's a great regular season quarterback that's going to put some numbers up, but can't take that next step? Or is he, just a victim of too many other people that are successful?
I think he's a victim of the Kansas City defense.
Yeah.
They had the perfect game plan against him. They put those corners one-on-one on those wide receivers and shut down the run lane. I know he got loose on a 4th and 1, but that was the only time he did get loose. They kept him in that pocket, and he was just dead meat. Their front 7 won that game. I mean, Kansas City's defense, I can't say enough about it. I know Mahomes and the offense gets all the PR.
Right.
But defense wins championships. It was the same thing with Michigan this year.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Joe Burrow, to me, is the biggest threat.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy in the AFC, there's your guy that's proven his team can beat Mahomes. And I tell you what, if Pittsburgh can find a way to get a quarterback, they'll be a pain in the rumpus because that's what they're missing. That, and they pick up an offensive lineman. Their D is really good.
Yes, it is. I was just going to say, you've got it's amazing, that division next year. You've got Joe Burrow, you've got Lamar Jackson, and you say what you want. You can like or dislike Deshaun Watson. The guy still has a little bit of talent. I think he might be a tad overrated now, but you could get a quarterback like if a Justin Fields goes to Chicago or to Pittsburgh, or they trade for I don't know, Russell Wilson. Man, it could be interesting there for sure.
Well, they're rumored one to come here and one to go to Pittsburgh. We'll see.
Speaking of Atlanta, I'm glad you brought that up. What a great segue. Great segue, Todd. I know you were kind of on the Bill Belichick bandwagon, and I think a lot of people were down there.
Still am.
And they threw a lot of people a curveball with their head coaching hire. And it's going to be a lot of questions. I know Atlanta's got some talent down there, Todd. It's not like they're it's not like they're a bottom feeder. And I think, you get the right mind in there, that team could be a playoff team right away.
Well, I disagree with a lot of that. The Falcons were 7-10, 7-10, 7-10 under Arthur Smith. The first year they overachieved. The second year about where they were. And this year, honestly, expecting a rookie quarterback to come in with an offensive line that is average and a defensive line that is maybe average. I know their defense finished in the top 10 in stats in my ATL Prime Sports partners, all about the stat. And I said, you know what? You can throw the damn stat out the window. How many times did the Falcons defense give up the game winner and couldn't stop their opponent on the final drive all year? It was several. It was more than one, as in plural. So they've got talent. They've got good talent at running back, a good talent at tight end. They still need help, obviously, at quarterback and receiver and in the front seven, especially on the defensive line. So even if they get a quarterback, they better draft well. And they play in the worst division in the NFL.
100%.
And if they were in any other division, this is a 4-win team. So they have way more work than others, than I think, than what the local media will tell you here.
So if I had to tell you, you got to bet your house on the quarterback situation. Do you think they're going to end up drafting a quarterback in the first round, or are they going to make a trade?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. Thank you. What I would do here, this is going to be music to your ears.
All right, talk to me.
I would trade down, get me an extra pick. I wouldn't give a rat's bit if it was in the second round. I would get down to 12 or 13, and I'd draft that damn kid in Ann Arbor, J.J. McCarthy, at 21 years old, and I'd turn him loose, get a veteran quarterback, let him learn under, because if you've watched the film, I'm telling you what, Jim Harbaugh said it. I don't know if he's as good as any quarterback that's coming out, but he said he would be the first quarterback he would take. Jim Harbaugh knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But go look at the throws that he made in the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
But go look at the throws that he made in the national championship game. The tight window.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to run, go on the run and throw the football. I'm the Falcons. I go get McCarthy because I still don't think the roster is ready to win. Even with a veteran quarterback, maybe they could win the South. But if I'm the Falcons, I'm looking a little bit more towards the future. I'm drafting McCarthy. I'm developing him. You still have a lot of money in the cap. And in 2 years, you could be ready. I think this kid's going to be a damn good one. And I tell you what, the favorite is Minnesota. And if Minnesota gets McCarthy, they could haunt the Lions down the line. I think a ton of McCarthy. He can throw on the run.
Yeah.
He throws in tight windows. I think he's a great quarterback, and I think they've underrated him.
So let me ask you this: when it's I love McCarthy too, and the guy, all he did was win. I mean, granted, he had a very good team, but
he didn't turn it over.
Yeah, that's right. That was my point. The quarterback that he played against in the championship game, I've been a Michael Penix Jr. fan since he was at Indiana, and I love what he did at Washington. The guy, he kind of reminds me of Jalen Hurts a little bit, where he's got that. He's smart. He's a very intelligent quarterback. He doesn't try to do too much like a Caleb Williams does. And I think,
wouldn't take him in the first round. People are going to call me crazy. But if you watch
Caleb?
that Utah game, he had that derogatory saying on his fingernails about Utah, and they pounded him every time they played him, and he got so frustrated with their offensive line, they just gave up and said, you know what, do it yourself.
I agree 100%. I guess my point is I think Penix is going to be one of the quarterbacks that is going to fly under the radar. He's going to go – and I honestly think McCarthy too, Todd, is –
I think McCarthy will be better than Penix because Penix has been injured. I'm telling you, you watch McCarthy, he's got excellent ball placement on the deep over the route. He also can throw the ball right on that jersey number and make the receiver make a clean catch, him rolling out and throwing the ball on the sideline. McCarthy just played a clean game. Of course, it wasn't Penix's fault. The Michigan front seven, the secondary was all over him. But he is injury prone, and he got injured in that game. They beat him up.
Well, yeah, but I think what I think is going to end up happening is McCarthy's going to go. He's going to go low enough in the first round. He's going to go to a winning team that will be able to. He won't have to go right into the Wolves. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to learn.
Playing for the Falcons.
He could, but I think he's going to. he's going to be able to learn from somebody, and and I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty good deal for him. So, well,
Did you know McCarthy, Lou? I don't mean to say
No,
this. Let me say this: his pass attempts versus the top 50 D in college football was better than Jaden McDaniels. The completion percentage better than Penix, Drake May, Caleb Williams, or Bo Nix, and also his sack rate on third in 6+ was better than just incredible, better than all of them. He knows how to get rid of the ball, and he's quick enough to get rid of the ball and live for the next play.
I want to give you a few more minutes. We're going to talk a little bit of hockey. We'll switch gears. We'll get the pucks out for a couple of minutes. Red Wings are right now. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd have the second wild card. I know they're still 2 months out before the NHL playoffs, but they're a legitimate contender to at least get into the playoffs. They got thumped on last night in the third period at Edmonton, obviously giving up 5 goals. I think Connor McDavid had 6 assists last night. What do you think that they may do, if anything, at the trade deadline? What is your belief that as far as a chance for them to get to the playoffs?
Well, they need help. They need help on the defensive end. There's just no question about it. They need to become more physical. When I watch them play, too many teams are just coming in the high slot or the low slot and camping out in front of the goalie. They've got to become a physical team. They got to become a better defensive team, and they got to get better goaltending. I mean, I think the Wings offensively are good enough, but, they could use another goal scorer. But even if they make the playoffs, if they're in the last spot, guess who they're going to most likely draw? But it's early. Yeah. They could draw the Rangers or Boston or Florida. And honestly, they don't match up with either one of them. It wouldn't be like Florida versus Boston last year.
I don't know.
Florida was the 8th seed because, they had a lot of injuries last year.
I disagree with your Boston assessment. I think they could hang with Boston in a series. I think they could surprise them. But the other two teams, I mean, the Rangers, they're getting the goaltending, and that's key. As is Florida. But I like.
Big Swayman guy?
No, I'm not.
He made some spectacular saves against Washington. I saw a little bit of it Saturday.
Oh, I understand, but I think Detroit has played with Boston this year, and they've got it in their heads that they can hang with them, and that's huge. But I want them to get in just to get a taste of it, to get the confidence. I don't care if they get swept. I just want them to get in, to get a taste of the playoffs. To be honest with you, Todd, I like what they've got in the pipeline for goaltending with Kosa at Grand Rapids. He's playing really well. And one to keep an eye on, too, is the kid that they drafted that's playing for Michigan State right now, Augustine.
What a stud.
The guy he's carrying Michigan State. I mean, now Michigan State's got a little bit of firepower, but they're fun to watch on the defensive end. But it all starts with Augustine. And I think the future's bright. I think they've got some good talent at Grand Rapids. They're playing really well now. The Griffins are. So I think that, I just want them to get in and make a little bit of hay, maybe win a game or two. If they can win a series, that's great. But it would just do wonders.
Beautiful.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Last question before I let you go. We saw what happened in the Ottawa-Toronto game Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
With the slap shot into the empty net, and then Morgan Riley taking the two-handed cross check to him in the in the side of the head from behind. He gets 5 games. Now, I know what everybody's saying. He's a first-time offender, and I know Perron got 6 for Detroit.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it was too light? Were you surprised it was only 5? Was it too many? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I was surprised it was 5. I thought it'd be at least 6. The precedent was set.
Yep.
But they went 5. I tell you, though, if you can't stop them, you surely shouldn't go over and cross-check them.
Right.
I don't care if he took the stick and whacked it 100 miles an hour, 2 feet from the net. You got to let it go and get to the next game. I know it's against the code, and you don't do that to show up another team, but it was done. And if you know what, you got to stop them prevent them from doing that.
Well,
So
yeah, I agree. And then I guess I was a little surprised it wasn't more, because in the Vancouver game against Detroit earlier that day or whatever, I can't remember the guy's name from Vancouver that, hit Lucas Raymond with that shot to the head. He got he got 2 games for that. And I thought,
I just don't understand the consistency.
I don't either.
Where it is, the NHL needs to work on that. But I tell you what, I hope we get a team here in Atlanta, and they're doing all the right things to get one. I am dying for an NHL team here.
I know you are. I see your social media posts. You and I, we'll have to come back. I'll get you back on when before the playoffs, but when the NHL
and I'll
playoffs
have you
start,
back on mine too. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
too.
I would love to talk about that. I think we have a little difference of opinion, but that's all right. But getting back to your comment about the code and all that, Todd, we live in a different era now. There is no unwritten rules anymore. They don't, the bat flips and, the stare down of the pitcher when you hit a home run. You can't throw it high and tight anymore. You'll get suspended. In basketball, you dunk and you stare down the bench. And, you never used to do that. You'd get a chop in the nuts if you did that. I mean, look at football. I mean, there is no such thing as a code anymore and an unwritten rule. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't want to be the old man, get off my lawn, but I just, there's no nobility and humility anymore,
Well, there's no class.
No.
And there's a lot, I won't say there's no class. There's a lot less class.
Yeah.
And society has changed. And you want to fix all that problem. It all starts in the home.
Yeah.
Teaching your kid when he's a kid to, not do this garbage. I mean, you'll see youth baseball around here where, a kid hits a double and he's pumping his chest and pointing to the sky like the junk that Ronald Acuna does for the Braves or a lot of these players.
Oh, yeah.
It all starts in the home. You want to fix it? Fix it in the home.
Well, and it starts by seeing it on Sports Center, and they
kids emulate.
They do. They embellish it on TV, and then, I don't know. We could talk about that on another show. Hey, Todd, tell us what you got going on your podcast and what's going on in your world.
Oh, well, thank you for asking that. On Friday morning at 9 a.m., you've got an invite if you want to come on about 9:30. I don't know what you got going during that time. I'm going to have Will McFadden of the Falcoholic. We'll be talking Atlanta Falcons in the National Football League. That'll be live on X or Spaces or Twitter or whatever in the hell you want to call it. And it'll be at 9 o'clock. We'll be on for 15 or 20 minutes. And we'll be talking a lot deeper Falcons. And I'll be having some interesting questions for him. You're definitely go ahead and listen in. It should be a lot of fun.
All right, Todd, thanks as always for coming on tonight. Be well, and look forward to seeing you down in St. Louis, hopefully in 3 weeks or so with the ACHA National Tournament already.
I can't believe that it's on 3 weeks. I actually will have a podcast before I get there. I will be previewing the ACHA Women's D2 National Showcase. Is I'll have the call on 8 games for 2 days in the St. Louis area for the National. So I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, there's 84 teams down there now. They upped the Division I for the men to 24 teams. And so it's a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. All right, Todd, thanks again for coming on, and good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me as always, Lou.
All right, you betcha. Todd Corder, the host of ATL Prime Sports. You can catch that on X, Twitter, at Corder Todd, and of course at ATL Prime Sports. As always, some great conversation here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports. Got a few minutes left before the end of the show tonight. Again, the sports world, the Super Bowl means that the on the field season is over for the NFL. But as we mentioned, it goes on 12 months a year now. We got the Combine coming up, where it's the underwear Olympics for the NFL coming up here in the end of February. So 2 weeks. And then, of course, I think March 10th is the quote-unquote fiscal calendar year for the NFL. That's when teams can start talking to free agents. And, there's a lot of cap space. The silly season starts. It's a lot of fun. Then you got the draft in April, the schedule release. You can look at all that. I do know one thing with our Detroit Lions. They've only got 2 outdoor games next year on the road. That's at Green Bay and at Chicago. And I'm sure one of them is going to be in the frigid weather, but they both might be for all I know. But, that's obviously a bonus. The Lions are going to have a tough schedule this year, first place schedule. So we'll see what they're made of. But as Todd mentioned, and I agree, I think if they could draft well and Brad Holmes has showed that he can, we could be right back there as Lion fans cheering on our Lions to a playoff appearance and hopefully another division championship. And that next step, getting to the big game in New Orleans next year, Super Bowl 59. But with the football season over, we're going to, like I said, talk pucks, and we're going to talk a little more college basketball as it's coming around the bend. Speaking of college basketball, firing today in the Big Ten world, as Ohio State fired Chris Holtmann today as the head coach at Ohio. And so now they're going to be looking for replacements. It's what have you done for me lately? And you've got Chris Holtmann getting the heave ho, but yet Ward Manuel is still confident in Juwan Howard at Michigan, which to me is an absolute disgrace. How Juwan Howard still has a job, and he's looking at a 20 to 25 loss season in Ann Arbor. It's absolutely embarrassing. And what scares the hell out of me, and I mean this sincerely, is Michigan State's going to go down to Ann Arbor Saturday night. It's the rivalry game, obviously. And if by some miracle Michigan wins, that'll be enough for Ward Manuel to keep Juwan Howard for another year. It's an absolute clown show in Ann Arbor with the basketball team. It's just so hard to believe. We got spoiled with Michigan winning the championship in football. And now you've got this going on down there with the basketball. But what are you going to do? Now I know what it's like to be what it was like to be a Michigan State football fan this year because that clown show. And now they're starting to turn the ship around with Jonathan Smith, the head coach from Oregon State, coming to Michigan State. So, but we're going to talk hoops with the March Madness coming up around the corner. It's coming, and of course, the 4 best words, if you're a baseball fan, the 4 words of gospel: pitchers and catchers reported. That's right. Spring training is started for Major League Baseball today. Happy Valentine's and happy Pitchers and Catchers Day in down in Florida and, of course, in Arizona. So, all right, everybody, that's going to about do it. A reminder, as we mentioned, we talked a little bit about the ACHA. I want to mention, too, that we are going to be live there with updates throughout the national tournament. It starts March 7th, runs through the 17th, down in St. Louis. ACHA, it's the next level to NCAA hockey. 84 teams are going to be convening down there in 5 divisions, and it's 3 in the men's, 2 in the women's, and it really is a lot of fun. If you're in that area, stop on by at the Centene Ice Center. Some great hockey, 4 games a day and 3 rinks. I'm telling you, it really is a sight to behold. Some great hockey. And we here at 12 Ounce Sports, we're going to be doing a show live. It starts on March 7th. We're going to be doing our podcast live from there on March 6th from the arena, and then nightly updates, daily updates on our extravagant few minutes. So kind of a programming note there as well. So our annual venture with the ACHA National Tournament will be my 8th trip to the national tournament. Can't wait to get down there. And if you're in that area and you stop on by, make sure you say hi. I would love to meet all of you. It's always fun to catch up with the coaches and with the players and the families and everybody at the ACHA National Tournament. So I hope if you're going to be there that you get a chance to stop on by. All right, that's going to do it tonight. Enjoy everything, right? And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Kansas City with that senseless shooting there tonight, and pretty much on the 1-year anniversary of what happened here at Michigan State. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. So thanks to Todd Corder for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on 12 Ounce Sports. And again, you can find us just about anywhere. Follow us on Twitter or X at The Real Captain Lou, at 12 Ounce Sports. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, which are the Captain Lou Sports Network and 12 Ounce Sports, and follow us on both of us on Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza and 12 Ounce Sports. You can keep up to date with all of our programming on 12 Ounce Sports on our Facebook page there. And we're on Twitch, we're on Instagram. I haven't figured TikTok out yet. Who knows? Maybe I'll do that sometime down the road. I'll do some dances for you on TikTok, but just follow us on all of our social media platforms. All right, again, that's going to do it. This reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, especially tonight, keep your minds open, all right? Be safe, be good. Happy Valentine's Day. And again, we'll talk to you soon here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network with another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. So long.